You can say hi too. I'll introduce.
Okay, perfect. So we are on. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rochelle, and I'm the dietitian for Choices at Kitsilano. Before we get started, I'll just start off with some housekeeping. So for those who have attended this presentation, you're eligible for a nutrition buck. A nutrition buck is $10 off Choices coupon when you spend $50 or more. A survey link will be sent to you at the end of the seminar so we can collect your mailing address. All nutrition bucks will be sent out approximately 1 month after the event. So you can visit or call your local Choices store to talk nutrition with one of our nutrition consultants or email nutrition@choices.com. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just please enter them in the chat box so they could be answered throughout. I will speak them out loud to Renee while she's getting all busy. So with that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce Renée Chan. So Renée is a registered dietitian certified both in Canada and the United States. She comes from a family with issues of diabetes, heart disease, thyroid issues, and Alzheimer's disease, and is driven to help others with similar concerns. After receiving a Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of California in San Diego, she went on to New York University to pursue a Master's of Science in Clinical Nutrition. It was while studying there that she immersed herself in the restaurant industry. After working as a registered dietitian in New York, she went abroad to France to work in organic farms in transition to residency in Hong Kong. After receiving an MBA from Camden University, she now has rooted herself in Vancouver with the True Nosh Company, creating products without using any sugar or gluten, and it's all plant-based. So she's done so much, she's been so many places. And with that being said, we're so excited to have you, Renée. So I will hand it right over to you.
Thank you, Rochelle. It's my pleasure to be here with Choices, and I'm very excited because February is actually my birth month, and it's also Heart Month, and I'm going to be talking about heart health today. I have a helper, Lilia, here. She's going to be my helper today. She's also at Choices, and we're going to start with a little seminar, and then we're actually going to come back to my kitchen, and I'm going to do a little cooking demo. If you signed up for the class, you probably got a link to the ingredients for you to buy tonight, and you can also cook along with me too. I'll go slow. It's a very easy and fun and quick recipe. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen, and we're going to go into some information about heart health. So your heart is very important. And as a registered dietitian, I deal with a lot of people with heart issues. As a Chinese Canadian, a lot of the population in my world has a lot of issues with blood pressure as well as cholesterol. And my mother also has high blood pressure. So it's very dear to me, and healthy food is very important in my company, True Nosh. So I want to just go into talking about your heart because it is very small. It's about the size of your fists, and it really is protected by your ribs and breastbone, which is underneath your sternum. What the heart does, it pumps blood and delivers oxygen and nutrients to all cells of the body. And it takes waste from all the way from your toes and all the way from your fingers. And then you exhale and you produce carbon dioxide. And these arteries carry oxygen that you breathe in from your lungs and helps you get oxygen all throughout your body. This is what your arteries do. And then your veins carry from, your toes that have oxygen poor blood, and then it goes back to your lungs, and then you exhale the carbon dioxide from your lungs. So your heart is super important, and you have to really understand what you can do to protect it. We are very blessed in North America. We have so many types of foods and information that you can rely on. You can go and talk to your dietitian, your doctor, and they can really help with information about heart disease because it is the #1 killer of Canadians, and it increases with your age. So people who are older has more susceptibility to heart disease. And if you have unhealthy eating habits, as well as not enough physical activity. So people who need to add some physical activity in your life, I'm not telling you to go do a crazy workout, but adding some activities like cleaning your house or cleaning your car, walking that extra distance, and taking a walk when there is some nice weather that we're going to see coming up soon. And then you also increase heart disease with people who have obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. So what causes heart disease? Well, high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, and diabetes, as well as people who have high blood pressure in their pregnancy. This disease is called preeclampsia. And then also people who have sleep apnea, so they can't really breathe and they're actually not really sleeping. So those are some things that causes heart disease, as well as your lifestyle can have an effect on your heart. As I said before, you're an unhealthy diet, not enough physical activity, your weight can be an issue, and smoking also can increase your persistent in heart disease as well. And too much alcohol, stress is also a huge thing. I mean, a lot of times we live in the city, there's so many different types of stresses that can cause our heart to be overworked. Some drug use and such as birth control and hormone replacement therapy can also lead to some causes of heart disease. How is that going to be diagnosed is when you go to visit your family doctor and do a physical examination, and the doctor will test your blood or, ask you different questions about your heart and your feeling. Usually is your blood work. So they'll look at cholesterol, triglycerides, your blood sugar, your sodium levels, as well as your blood pressure. And some doctors will also send their patients to get an ECG, which is measuring your heart electrical signal, as well as seeing what your resting heart rate is. And these are some diagnostics that your doctor will check if you're going to go for a checkup to see how healthy your heart is. So your heart is a muscle, and the job it is for it to pump blood around your body. It pumps almost 100,000 times a day through arteries and veins. And the normal resting heart rate is usually 60 to 100 beats a minute. And you can actually go to HealthLink BC and they have this calculator, your target heart rate, and you can actually put in your age and they will spit out to see if the resting heart rate is a healthy amount of beats. And if it's something like, drastic, I'm not talking about plus 10 or minus 10%, but something like either too fast or too slow, you might want to kind of be a little bit concerned. So some test results. So the doctor will go and look at your cholesterol and triglycerides. You want to be within the normal range. And they'll also check your electrolytes because sodium and potassium, calcium, and chloride, and also phosphorus has some things that affect your blood and the pressure of your blood vessels. So that's something that the doctor will check, as well as your blood sugar levels, because as I said previously, diabetes has a direct link to having a increased heart disease in your life. So they're going to look at your A1C, which is about like the 3 months percentage of how much glucose is attached to your red blood cells, as well as fasting glucose. So you're going to not eat anything and they're going to feed you a little bit of glucose and see how much your blood sugar raises. As well as they're going to look at your weight, as well as your waist inches. For women is about your waist, sorry, I did a mistake here, your waist about 34 inches and males 40 inches, because usually your fat around your waist is not a healthy place for your fat to reside, because it actually can squeeze and hinder some of your functions in your organs, such as your liver, as well as your heart. Cholesterol is also a major factor because it can cause coronary heart disease. It can also cause heart attacks and strokes. So if your blood cholesterol rises, so does your risk of heart disease. And we already said that heart disease is the #1 killer in Canada. So there are two different types of cholesterol. You might hear your doctor say HDL or LDL, and those are both cholesterol, but one is higher density, that's HDL, and the other is lower density. You want to look at your report and make sure the higher density one is a little bit higher, because that is considered the good type of cholesterol, and the lower density one should be lower, and because that is considered the bad type of cholesterol. It is actually made in your body, so it's really not necessary to eat cholesterol in your diet, even though it's an essential part to make up and build healthy cells. Where is dietary cholesterol found? So a lot of times meat with higher fat percentages, poultry, eggs, and some dairy in forms of milk and cheese, and then foods that have higher saturated fats. And you want to kind of stay away from too much processed foods, as well as meats that have too many fatty deposits in it, and meats that have too much lard or butter, or foods like pastries that have too much butter in making the process. We just have to make sure that you have a balanced diet. And if you do eat a lot of foods that have a lot of butter and lard in it, make sure that you balance it out with more fruits and vegetables, as well as physical activity. And we're going to talk about that also later. And then you have probably heard of trans fats, and these are found in margarines. So you want to kind of stay away from things that have turned from plant oil, and the companies blast hydrogen into these oils to make a liquid oil in room temperature turn into a harder, more spreadable, and more shelf-stable fat called margarine. And these are things that are hydrogenated. So you want to stay away from that, as well as deep fried foods. You don't want to eat that many servings of fried chicken or fries. You do want to make sure that when you do, again, try to balance it out with some physical activity and more intake of fruits and vegetables and fiber. Okay, what you can take to prevent heart disease? Well, you can adapt a balanced diet, as well as increase your active lifestyle. And you can learn more about this and go to visit the Heart and Stroke website or HealthLink BC. And if you ever want to talk to a dietitian, you can also call HealthLink BC 811 and visit your local choices and ask to talk to the resident nutritionist or dietitian in store, right? A lot of people may have heard of the DASH diet, and you can find a lot of information about the DASH diet on the website. You do on my website, as well as a website that have good resources, such as like Health Canada's website, HealthLink, and some research hospitals like the Mayo Clinic has a good DASH diet information. And what DASH stands for is Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. Hypertension is just another word for high blood pressure. And some recommendations include fiber. So there's two types of fiber, and usually both types is in a lot of different types of plant foods. So you want to eat a whole plant, like a whole fruit or whole vegetable, and not really like take off the skin of certain things. I actually just learned that you can eat the skin of kiwis, and I've been throwing that away, and all the good fiber and nutrition and nutrients in there, I've been just throwing it away. So you can eat that. And today we're actually going to be cooking with chayote squash. And I've also been peeling it, but I also learned that you can eat it. And a lot of times people don't know that the skin has a lot of nutrition and fiber in it. And as long as you wash it well, scrub it well, you can, wash away about 80% of the pesticides, and therefore it's not going to be hindering your health as much. So the longer you scrub it with a good vegetable scrubber, and you can dunk it in like water with a little bit of sodium bicarbonate, like basically the what is it called? The baking soda, yeah, or vegetable wash, right? I'm sure Choices has an aisle where they sell something like that, and you can wash away a lot of the pesticides and keep the fiber and the nutrients that you can get from the skin of certain fruits and vegetables that you don't think that you can eat. And then foods that are high in potassium, calcium, and magnesium, because these nutrients actually help control blood pressure. So you can make sure that you have good amounts of potassium, calcium, and magnesium. And a lot of times, a lot of plant-based foods has a lot of these nutrients already, and you don't really have to go research in it. Make sure you eat like the color of the rainbow. I always tell my clients to go walk around the produce section, and if they've never even like tried a fruit or vegetable that has different colors, then you can go and pick it up and just Google a recipe online and how to use it. There are so many things that you can do with different vegetables you've never heard of, and you can find the recipe easily on a really nice website. You can go to visit my website. I have a lot of recipes also. I'm sure Choices gives out a lot of recipes as well. Another thing is sodium, and a lot of foods that are processed have very high in sodium. So the DASH diet actually recommends a limit of 2,300 milligrams a day, and that's actually not a lot. A lot of times condiments have already like 100 milligrams per teaspoon. So you really want to read your labels and understand that sodium also is a factor in increasing your heart rate as well as increasing your blood pressure. And then some fats. When you look at fats, you'll in the oil section, there are so many different types of oil. Now you can find like avocado oil, you can find coconut oil, you can find sunflower oil, flaxseed oil, so many different types of oil. I always kind of tell you to experiment, and you don't want to really kind of focus on one type of oil because there are so many different long chain fatty acids that it can be beneficial to your body. So maybe try out avocado oil one day, and then when you finish the bottle, go and try out some grapeseed oil, and then sunflower oil another week. And you can kind of taste different aromas and flavors, or using like vegetable oils that doesn't have too many types of flavors can actually help with different recipes that you're cooking too. But you also really want to make sure that the smoke point is high if you're doing some high heat cooking. So today we're going to use grapeseed oil because we're going to be pan-searing some things. But you do need healthy fats because you need fat to absorb these fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. And you also need omega-3s, and these can be found in flax seeds as well as a good fish, a high-fat fish such as salmon, sardines, mackerel. And then also plant oils such as in like beans and whole legumes. There's really good oils in those types of foods. And you also want to use oils that are liquid in room temperature because those are the mono unsaturated fats, and it doesn't increase your cholesterol. So you can find these in the oil section. So we're coming to the end of our little presentation. I want to urge you guys to choose your health, eat well, maintain a good healthy weight, talk to someone that you trust, such as a registered dietitian, and increase in physical activity. It doesn't have to be much, but it just has to be something that you adapt and you can actually do every day in your lifestyle. And if you are a smoker, I encourage you to go to your local pharmacy to see what things that they can do to help you stop smoking, managing your stress, talk to a friend, call someone up. read a little joke, and also read your labels. Very important to look in the back of processed foods or packaged foods to see how much sodium, especially, is in your food, as well as dietary fiber. The higher the fiber, the better, and the lower the sodium, the better. And also have fun. I do want to kind of go over some nutrition facts table in the back of a lot of different types of packaged foods. You want to make sure this you understand the serving sizes, and you want to also make sure that you know how much is in a serving size, because you might be eating the whole package and realize that there is 8 servings in one package. So you always want to make sure that you are counting your sodium, as well as making sure that the total carbohydrate is not too high. But if that's high, and you also want to make sure that there's enough fiber, because with the fiber, it actually helps slow down the absorption of your any blood sugars that are in the food item. So the higher the fiber, the less chance you're going to get these peaks in your blood sugar. Okay, are we ready to cook? Rochelle, are there any questions from anybody on YouTube?
So far, so good.
Okay, good. How's the pace? Am I going too fast? Nope. Okay, so I want to introduce you to my kitchen. I'm going to cook a very easy recipe today with you. We're going to be using some chayote squash. These can be found in a lot of grocery stores. I found this in an Asian grocery store in downtown. I live in Mount Pleasant, and I found this. You can either go to Chinatown, which has very cheap and fresh produce, or TNT, or your local food store. And if you can't find this, you can substitute with zucchini. You can substitute with butternut squash, and you can substitute with tomatoes or even cucumbers. So it doesn't have to be chayote squash, but I just want to kind of introduce you to this nice and beautiful squash that not a lot of people cook with. And I love it because it's very, very crisp, as well as hydrating. And it is a very nice food to pair with protein, such as fish. Okay. I chose black cod today. We have a piece of black cod. I'm actually cooking for Lilia as well. So 4 ounces is really for one person, and that you want to use your hand to measure. About the size of your palm is about 4 ounces. We're going to be using 1 squash per person. And then I'm going to use my black bean sauce. This is a company that I started about 6 years ago, and we make foods without using gluten, no sugar added. We only use fruits and vegetables, as well as plant-based ingredients. You can go and check out my new store on 7th Avenue between Granville and Hemlock. We're going to be doing in-person cooking classes very soon. I'm using, I said, grapeseed oil today, but you can use any type of oil that can be used for medium to high heat cooking, because we're pan-searing. And then if you have some sesame oil, it's optional. You can use that to finish your dish. And if you want to cook some rice or konjac noodles, you can also get some of that too. And we are going to stop share because we are going to go to my kitchen and get ready to cook together. Can you guys see my little setup here?
We can see it perfectly.
I have some chayote squash. Before I do that, because the fish is just going to take like minutes to cook, we're not going to prepare the fish yet. So with the fish, you can get frozen and then defrost it, but just make sure that you don't season the fish before. We're actually not even going to use any salt and pepper because my black bean sauce is flavorful enough, and it's just going to be ladled on top of the fish once it's cooked. If you were to season the fish, you can do it right before you cook, because if you put salt on this fish, it will draw out the water and the fish won't be as moist when you eat it. So you always season it right before you cook. I do want to talk about some rice options. I love to mix my rice and mix a mixed grain rice. So in my store, you can find this. There's 4 different types of grains, but you don't have to use specific type of grains. You can find some brown rice, which I have here. And then I actually using some hemp seeds, which are high in fiber as well as protein. So Lilia can bring this here. And then I'm going to add in some mung beans as well. And these are also high in protein as well as vitamin A. And I'm going to mix it all together into my brown rice. And I know this can be cooked at the same time and be ready at the same time. So I can just mix it all together, and we can wash it and we can put it on either in your rice cooker or in the stove. What you want to do is rinse this twice. So I'm going to have Lilia actually help me rinse the grains twice, and then put about double amount of water as you have grains. Or what I do is I just use a measurement of my finger. As long as the water goes on top of my middle finger, I know that's enough water to cook my rice in. And if you don't want to eat rice, you can also find in your grocery aisle in the starch or the gluten-free aisle. And now you can find these types of sides, which is like made with konjac. So this is a konjac noodle or spaghetti, and konjac is actually a root vegetable. But now this is more of the fiber of that root vegetable. And this literally has about 2 carbs in it, so you're not really going to absorb a lot of the carbs in this, and this can be added to a healthy side dish. You can eat it either cold or you can cook it and stir fry it, whichever way you want. All right, so now since Lily is washing the rice, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this chayote squash. So I'm going to cut the ends off of the squash. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut this guy in half. And there is actually a little bit of a middle stem in this, so I'm just going to take it out like I would when you core a apple. Okay, and there are a little bit of seeds that might be quite rough, so you want to take out any of the rough pieces that you see when you cut out the middle. Okay, just like you would core a pear. All right, great, thank you. So Lilia has washed my starch, and I'm going to just add enough water to cover the top of my hand. And I'm going to start cooking my starch. And I'm just going to let it boil, and we're going to cover it until it boils. So I'm just going to leave that alone, and we're going to start cutting our chayote squash. I'm going to cut this into a quarter, and then about 1 centimeter slices, or half a centimeter. Actually, you can do 1 centimeter. It's really up to you. This squash can be stir fried, or you can use to make soup with, and it's quite refreshing actually for soup. Okay, so this is quite a lot. I'm going to use a cast iron pan with a little bit of grapeseed oil that I got, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. That was about 1 tablespoon. Okay, and then now I'm just going to put the chayote squash on the bottom and lay them flat, because we're going to pan sear these guys and make them nice and crispy and golden brown. And this is kind of like a 1-pan dish, because once we crisp both sides of the squash up, we're going to put the fish on top and add a little bit of oil. I mean, sorry, not oil, water to the bottom, and then close the lid so the steam of the chayote squash will actually cook the fish. All right, so just enough to coat the bottom of the pan, and we're going to put it on medium heat, and I'm going to wait for this sizzle. All right, so you have a bunch left over here. If you want to use a larger pan, you can cook 2 at the same time, but I don't have too big of a pan, so we're just going to cook about half at the same time. Okay, so now that the chayote squash is on the stove, I'm going to get my piece of fish. So you don't have to use fish. If you're vegan, you can use tofu or tempeh. And I'm just going to take the bone of the middle of the fish out.
Renee, we have a question. Someone just asked, should we worry about the preservatives in the konjac noodles?
So you can definitely rinse that out. There are some liquid that needs preservations, and there are some preservatives in there. Make sure you just give it a good rinse, and it should be safe for consumption, but I wouldn't eat it every day. Okay, so it's really for people who want to add it into your diet for weight loss, but I wouldn't do it every day because there are so many different types of foods that you can eat just all in the starch aisle. So you can add like lentils, you can add different beans into your rice to increase the fiber content in your starch. So this is just something that if you are tired of all these different options, then you can try it once in a while. So I wouldn't really kind of eat that all the time because there are some preservatives in there that you don't really want too much of in your body. But you know, a lot of times that you go tired of a lot of the same things, and this is just an option that you can add to your diet once in a while. Does that answer the question?
I think so. That was good. Yeah.
Okay, so with the black cod, I am keeping the skin on because there are no scales on the skin. There is just some bigger bones.
Do you have any tips on cutting fish?
From cutting fish, well, the thing is, like, if you cut fish, so Lilia is just asking me if I have any tips in cutting fish. I'm just cutting the fish around the bones, so I know I'll get the bigger pieces of this fish because this fish doesn't have too many bones. I can do a whole seminar on how to fillet a fish, and that would be quite a while. So today I chose a fish that doesn't have too many bones, and you can easily cut around it. I'm cutting bite-sized pieces of this fish, so it'll cook relatively quick and fast. And once I run my fingers around it, I know there's a little bit of bones in the middle. I'm just going to cut that away. And even if there's some bones left, they're really big on black cod, so I'm not too concerned. Okay, so I hear a sizzle. I'm going to wash my hands. And I'm going to bring you guys closer to, yeah, thank you. I'm going to bring you guys closer to my searing pan, and you can see what's going on. All right, how's that view over here?
It works great.
Good. Can you guys hear the sizzle? Yeah, so because the chayote squash is quite, there's a lot of water content in it, it takes a little bit to pan sear. And you'll see the color change from opaque to a little bit more translucent. And you can also use this tongs to check the bottom. And it smells pretty good already right here. Oh, and then once you see a little bit of golden brown, you can turn the squash around and let it pan sear on the other side.
Someone just asked a question. They said, can you
Yeah.
please describe the flavor of the squash? And if I'm making soup, can I just toss the squash in the broth and boil it, or does that ruin the texture?
No, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit like a zucchini-like texture. So you can just toss it into a soup and it will kind of melt into the soup like a zucchini would. Okay, so now I've turned it around. If you guys can see, there's a nice brown color around the edges. Yeah, and now it's time, thank you, that I can actually put the pieces of fish on top. All around. You don't have to cut it into small pieces like I did. You can actually keep it whole. Oops. That fell. We'll wash that. Thank you, Lilia. It's just easier to fork when it's like in a small piece like that. Sorry. Yeah, so if you were to defrost the fish, you can run it under like some cold water really quick to wash the fish and dry it out a little bit. But the liquid is actually not a bad thing for dish fish. Okay, so now the fish is on. I'm gonna go ahead and find a cover for my fish because we're gonna steam this. And I'm gonna go ahead and find a little bit of water. So I have about a 1/4 cup of water. And once I get the water and the cover together, I'm just gonna put the water in here and then cover it. And the water just needs to cover the bottom of the pan. And then the lid just has to make sure that it covers the entire thing. So the steam from the water actually steams the fish. And this really only takes about 5 minutes if the fish is small in pieces like this. And if you kept the fish whole, like in a big 4-ounce piece, it will probably take about 7 to 8 minutes. Okay, and I'm going to check on my rice. So it definitely has boiled. I'm going to turn it down into a lower setting in the back to let it simmer. And it only needs about 15 minutes of simmering and it should be good. Okay, so I'm going to bring you guys back here because we're waiting for the fish to cook, and it really only takes about 5 to 6 minutes because we cut them into small pieces. And I'm going to open my black bean sauce. My black bean sauce has ginger, black beans, black garlic. So those of you who don't know what black garlic is, a fermented garlic, and I ferment my own garlic in a fermenter, and it takes about 3 weeks to ferment. And what happens is a white garlic actually slowly transforms into a black garlic, and the bacteria in there eats its own sugars in the garlic. I'm gonna just get my pan twitches when it boils, and then it slowly transforms and turns the garlic black, and it becomes a sweet garlic and increases the antioxidants actually about 3 times. And a lot of studies actually have been studied on the black garlic, and people have been eating it like candy every day to help with their blood sugar levels. And it could actually help with some people who have high blood pressure and can help you alleviate some of that. So black garlic is actually quite good for you and sweet, and it tastes great. So I add it to my black bean sauce to increase the flavor. And because my whole company is all about not using sugar, the sweetness actually really helps increase the umami flavor that the black beans have, as well as I added some miso that are locally made and some ground ginger. And it's really can be added to like any stir fry dish, noodle dish. And today we're going to ladle on top of the fish. It is already ready to cook. Ready to eat already. So you don't really need to cook it more, and it can just be used as a dipping sauce as well. Okay, so I think 5 minutes is about over soon. We're going to wait just 1 more minute, and I'm going to grab a plate that I'm going to serve this guy on. But since we have it on a cast iron, you can actually just serve it on the cast iron pan, and you don't really even need another plate. Just make sure that the cast iron has a nice bottom, like a plate warmer for that, so it doesn't burn your tabletop. Just another 30 seconds. Are there any questions? Is anybody actually cooking with me today? Because that would be fun to see your finished product. And you can like send it, or, you know, if you want to email it to me or post it on Instagram and tag True Nosh, TRUENOSH, and I would love to see what you guys have done. And if you guys used different types of protein, or you can use a zucchini, if you have that, go ahead and do that. And if you even done it, if you had this idea, you can use it for, you know, next week. And I would also love to see it if you've done something next week, just tag me. Also, if you come up with questions after the presentation and you have nowhere to type your comments, you can also email info@truenosh.com if you want to ask me after the presentation also. Okay, so now our fish should be done. I'm going to go back to the stove here and open this guy. Ooh, yes, it's definitely all done. Look at how pretty that looks. We're going to let the residual liquid evaporate out so the chayote squash can get even crispier. And now I'm going to put my sauce on top of the fish. Just like that. And you can use whatever garnish you want to for this dish. You can even sprinkle some sesame seeds. What I'm going to do is actually sprinkle some flax seeds on here. Just a little flaxseed to make a little bit of a crunch. You can find flax seeds really anywhere now. And then, as I said, if you have some sesame oil, you can do a little bit of a drizzle on top. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to turn the heat off and just let the residual heat cook the squash. And then we're just going to add a little bit of garnish. And we're basically done. The rice just needs a little bit more time, just about 5 more minutes, but it smells amazing in the kitchen. And I hope you guys had fun today. And I'm here to answer any questions or go over any topics that I talked about in my seminar. I think I might have went a little bit quickly. So if anybody wants me to go over anything that I talked about, I'd be happy to go over some of the slides that I had prepared. But this dish is pretty much done. And we can do a little close-up if you guys are interested. Yay.
It smells so good.
It does, right? So I'm gonna stir you guys. A little bit of water in here. Anybody have any questions or comments or things that you like to, see done next time with the event at Choices? Do you have any questions, Rochelle?
No, I just wish I was there to have a taste.
Well, we're going to be teaching actually in-person classes soon. So after the class, we actually share food. If you want to stay, or you can also take it home. And that information you can find on my website. And I'd love to, participate in more of these free online nutrition sessions with Choices also coming forward. So yeah. Maybe we can even do an in-person one in one of the Choices that has a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, we're hoping with everything opening up soon, hopefully. Someone did ask a question. They said, what other products do you have at True Nosh?
oh wow, okay. So I mainly focus on Asian foods, and I created a line of sauces that we have available. You can find a hoisin sauce that I've used sweet potatoes and apples for, as well as a vegan oyster sauce that I use kelp and mushrooms for. And you can find 3 of my drinks that are made mainly of monk fruit. Monk fruit is an ancient Chinese medicine. And my grandmother actually used to be a very enthusiast in Chinese medicine. So she actually also used a lot of this in my drinks when I used to sing. My mom also makes a lot of tea, and my godmother also makes a lot of tea with monk fruit. And I've just learned as a young girl that monk fruit is really good for my lungs and my throat. So whenever I have a raspy throat or sore throat, I always go to monk fruit, and I created 3 different drinks from it. One's a ginger tea, one's a pink lemonade with cranberries. I have a fig lemonade. We also came up with a gluten-free goji berry granola. It's probably one of the only granolas that doesn't use honey or maple syrup to sweeten it. We blend dates and water and flax meal together to create a paste and bake it with goji berries and pumpkin seeds and flax seeds. I am the dumpling queen. We have dumplings at True Nosh. So if you come to the store, you can order dumplings for lunch. And we also are teaching gluten-free dumpling classes. with the flour, and you can take this flour home to make not just dumplings. You can do rotis with it, wraps, as well as pancakes and waffles and carrot cake. And we also have a line of hot sauces. This is just my first base. We have first base, second base, third base, and home run. There are 4 different types of hot sauce that go from like mild to very hot. And then we have our best seller, which is my XO sauce. And this is a vegan XO sauce. And you can't really find vegan XO sauces anywhere except for at True Nosh. This took me about 9.5 months to create with all the product testing and the laboratory testing. So this is my baby. And you can ask for a taste of all my products that you see in store when you come in before you buy anything. We do jams. We have a cranberry compote as well as a blueberry ginger jam. So there's a lot of different things in store that you can find, as well as other people who are making sugar-free, gluten-free, and plant-based products in the store as well. So we are very, very local. We support a lot of local companies in the store. So come and check out all the different brands that have been working very hard during the pandemic to create products. And yeah, those are what we're working on.
We also have someone that asked if they could use chicken instead of fish.
Yeah, you can use chicken for sure. Chicken might take a little bit longer. Yeah. So you can use either breast or chicken thighs.
Perfect. Yeah, and someone just said, love the presentation.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and come visit, and hopefully we'll meet you guys in real life, because everything is opening up now. And I'm usually at the store too, so you can come say hi and ask me anything there in person.
And then there was another really nice comment saying, your products look spectacular and I enjoy the fact that you use natural foods instead of sugar. And then they asked where your store is again.
It's on 7th Avenue. So the number is 1480 between Granville Street and Hemlock. So it's right above Granville Island.
Perfect.
We're closed on Mondays, so we're only open 6 days a week. Not just products, actually. So we have also a menu that you can order from. So we have like meals such as lasagna, mac and cheese. We have mapo tofu, rice bowls. We have a tempeh, black bean sauce, noodle bowl. And then we also have 3 different lovely salads and 2 different soups and brownies that are made with black beans. We don't use any flour, and also sweetened with some dates, with some walnuts. That's been a really good seller, as well as also a oatmeal raisin cookie without any sugar. So many things. So come have a taste. Love to serve you, and love to see what you guys are interested in cooking, and love to recommend different things for you to cook at home with.
Renee, is there a dine-in part of your store, or is it just they purchase it to go?
Yeah, we have 2 indoor seats, and then we also have 4 outdoor seats right now, and we're working on a patio permit for the summer for 6 more seats outside. But yeah, there's only 2 seats in store, but we have 4 little benches outside that you can also sit at, and it's covered, so even if it's raining, you can sit outside.
Oh, perfect. I'm gonna have to go.
Definitely, I'd love to meet you in person for sure.
Someone also said, awesome presentation in all capital letters.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I hope to do this again. And, maybe in the summer, we'll do some like Asian healthy summer type foods, like a cold noodle or some Asian salads, Asian slaws. That is also very fun.
Yeah, we would love to have you back, I'm sure. This was really fun to watch.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, yeah, that's my presentation. If nobody wants me to review any of my slides, I'm sure this will be on YouTube and you can review the video, right?
Yeah, this will be saved on our YouTube so people can access it whenever. Yeah, so it'll be uploaded right after we end the call.
Great. Great.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Renee. It was so awesome having you, and we hope we have you again soon. I really want to make a nice like summer fresh salad or something with you next time.
Great. Yeah, I can't wait. So let me know.
Perfect. All right. Well, enjoy your food, and thank you again
you.
for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye.